Hello you, it's me, and I have 4 quick stories to tell you about abortion. The first story, and these are people that were in my lives that affected my life in some way, shape, or form. And no, I didn't get permission to tell these stories, so I'm going to keep them very vague. The first story was a girl that I know that was raped. She did get pregnant from the rape, and her body seemed to be rejecting it. She probably would not have been able to take the baby to term, but she didn't want to take a chance, and so she aborted the baby. That's story number 1. Story number 2. There was a woman who had 3 children, and she was pregnant with her 4th, and she didn't want to have a 4th baby. So she decided to have an abortion. I think this one is far more selfish a reason. She wasn't broke. She didn't fall into the usual categories of why people would have an abortion. She just didn't want a 4th kid. But, I guess that's her right. Second story. Third story. A beautiful young woman who got pregnant at a young age and was forced to get an abortion by her parents because they didn't want her to have a child at, I think she was somewhere around 15, 16. And this affected her greatly years later when I knew her. And I think it's another good reason why we need to give the person who is pregnant, the woman who is pregnant, the opportunity for a say-so, not her parents, her. That was story number 3. Story number 4 was a woman who had very abusive parents and turned out to have a very abusive boyfriend who got her pregnant. And although the idea of having a child was a good one, she knew that child that she was carrying would most likely have very bad psychological issues. And because of her parents being so terrible, she didn't know if she could even keep the child. If she was kicked out, which was most likely, then she'd have to be on welfare. It would be a very tough, struggling life, and this child might need a lot of medical attention, mentally as well as physically. And so she made a very tough choice and decided to go on her own and have the abortion, just to make life better and not to bring in a life that would be so potentially tragic and horrible. All these stories are real stories, and I think all these stories, at least the 3 of them, have some merit to them. Abortion is a horrible, tragic thing that sometimes is necessary. And I think that should be thought of. And if it does end up going to states, which it looks likely, where each state can make their own decision, I hope that they take stories like the ones I told you in mind, because not all women who go for an abortion are selfish, horrible people. Sometimes, at the time, they find it necessary. And I think sometimes at that time, they're right. And they should have that option. That's all I gotta say.